There's so many layers that we all have as human beings, and I've seen this happen in like slowly by slowly, all these like layers just kind of get stripped away, and you're just left with this like bare, emotional human being and individual.
I think it's time to talk about the project.
Okay.
So there is something that's been brewing.
Yeah.
What is it that you guys have been doing?
NEB Sports has been very deeply invested in the ultra running space. We've been, how do we do something exciting? How do we create the new national record? How do we get to a new point? How do we break the world record? Something really exciting that definitely gives everyone back at home something to be excited about, be proud about, aspire to. So that's really what's in the works.
You need to do something no Indian has done so far.
You need to do something remarkable. You need to be like, you need to be amazing.
Yeah.
You need to find your ultra.
Yeah, exactly. I think you guys are onto something wonderful, which is great for Indian ultra running scene. And I'm sure along the way you would have learned lessons that an everyday athlete, ultra athlete can also benefit from.
Yeah, of course. We are moving more and more away from field-based training.
Okay.
Like Amar comes to our tent, we are kind of moving away from asking Amar, what do you need? It's more like telling Amar, okay, this is the plan, this is what you need. Stick to the plan.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what you need, because when you ask, it's like you know what it's like.
Yeah. I don't know what I need.
Yeah, you don't know.
Your mind is messed up.
Yeah, your mind is messed up. Like if I'm sure at one point in your 100-mile race, like you were like, I don't need anything. I just want to stop. Why
minimize that and be more data driven.
Be more data
methodical.
Exactly. Yes, you hit the hammer on the nail. Be more data driven. If you want performance, you need to be more data driven.
Yeah. Of course. So people listening to this podcast or watching, if they want to discover their 2.0, find their ultra and make it to Team India, what would be your advice?
If you want to make it to Team India,
welcome to the Find Your Ultra podcast. It feels like it's been a while. This conversation is with Ashwin Adiga. Ashwin is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu player. He's been into fitness pretty much all his life. He also happens to be the son of Nagraj Adiga, a figure that we're all familiar with. If you're a runner, you've definitely heard of NEB Sports. He's the one who founded the company. He's the man behind the large-scale events that we see that NEB Sports organizes across the country. NEB Sports has also been a great patron of the sport of ultra running. Like they've encouraged this for many years now. Like even in 2015 or 16 when we were just beginning, when we were just taking our first strides into the sport of ultra running, NEB Sports was organizing 24-hour events, encouraging people to try out. Like it was all very new for us. And they went out of the way. They supported many athletes, gave them free tickets and whatnot. A lot of things that they had to do to encourage people to even try this sport. And the result is actually clear. We are growing leaps and bounds in this sport. We are actually making big strides. In this episode, we have a conversation about Ashwin's personal journey, which we do always with all the... Thank you. Thank you, Karlu. In this episode, we speak a little bit about Ashwin's personal journey. Actually, a little more than a little bit, because his journey is very interesting as a sports person, as a fitness lover. So you should definitely look forward to that side of the conversation. But the way he describes this special project that NEB Sports is doing, it is about breaking limits. Now, I'm not telling you anything because you should really let that unravel itself in the conversation. So just listen to it. You will see that this actually holds a lot of meaning for each one of us. Like everybody who's concerned with the sport of running and ultra running, we're all concerned with this. NEB Sports is working with some of the top athletes in the country. They're helping them with interventions that are data driven, and they're looking to break limits. Rest of it, tune in. And so without further ado, here's Ashwin Adiga and me in the Find Your Ultra podcast. Indulge away. Okay, let's do this.
Find Your
Ashwin.
Ultra. That's good.
Yes. Welcome to the Find Your Ultra podcast.
Hey, what's up?
Thank you for making time, yeah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, glad you've made it all the way. And super excited to talk to you. You guys have been in the thick of the Indian running scene. There are so many things I want to discuss with you about. You've been up to very interesting stuff to do with Indian ultra running. So we want to get to all of that. Let's begin by getting to know you a little bit. You're into fitness yourself.
Yeah.
You play jiu-jitsu. Brazilian
nice.
Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself too.
Yeah. So kind of always loved sport. And I think my entire family, including my dad as well, was always into sport. If you ever catch him at home, there's some sports channel always on. He's either watching some sport and whatever sports available. So I always had that introduction to sport. I've always looked forward to PT class. It's always been something that I loved. I was a huge basketball, football fan. Loved playing the sport as well. At some point, I kind of got injured in college or something like that. Or uni. I got injured and I was playing football for like a very, very low tier club. And I got injured doing that. I had pulled my hamstring. And then after that, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to doing whatever did the YouTube rehab. And then afterwards, I twisted my ankle. After that ankle injury, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't think football is for me. It's a very injurious sport. So I'm going to stop it. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking for a hobby or a sport to do because I've always done sports my entire life. Now you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to kind of go crazy. So then I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, so that is basically it's a submission grappling sport, which involves pinning your opponent to the ground and then using joint locks and chokes to essentially submit them. So I went from that to a sport, grappling, and I did that in 2018 or 2018, yeah, and I've been in love ever since. And that's always been the main key central sporting activity that I've been doing.
My flatmate in the UK, I lived in Cardiff for some time. He was an Irish guy and he was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player back then, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But he used to come back home with a bleeding nose sometimes. And is it a bloody sport, or was it that he was, after the Jiu-Jitsu class, he was going to a pub and having a beer and a brawl there and then coming back?
It's so strange. It's a martial art, that's the one thing that I feel like it has to be kind of addressed. It's a kinetic sport. Two individuals are basically trying to impose their will because I only win at your expense. So there is contact / friction that's bound to happen, and you can get hurt. It can happen. But that being said, like, I've had way worse injuries doing playing football and playing basketball than I've had doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Depends on how he went, how his sparring session was or something like that. And yeah, maybe he got into a fight afterwards. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So then, because you were playing sports, you had to be fit all the time, and you were into fitness. And then, how did you get involved with NEB Sports? Whatever NEB Sports has been doing, which is, I mean, I don't know whether what year did you get involved?
2015.
15.
Yeah.
So pretty much around the time we started seeing NEB, and I think NEB's played a huge role in supporting Indian ultra running scene.
Yeah.
Because I'm good friends with the ultra runners who've represented India.
Nice.
And we've seen like the first ever contingent that was being sent for a world championship.
Nice.
How much NEB Sports supported each athlete, also like accommodation and what various things like. And even the getting the recognition, it wasn't even recognized by Athletics Federation of India. We were nowhere, and you guys played a pivotal role, I think, in getting us there.
Yeah.
Now we send a contingent every year, which is remarkable. So tell us about the
joining NEB Sports.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously NEB Sports is is basically a family business. My dad owns it. I joined in 2015. At that time, Bangalore Marathon had finished its first year, and we had done Bangalore 10K Challenge, like a first edition. So when I joined at that time, it was very new, very exciting. It was maybe like 3 or 4 of us just starting it, I think runners itself. So we always had the central theme of our company was always that we were runners wanting to create an event, and we basically wanted to make an event that we always wanted to attend to, and that's how we kind of started about. That's really how it started. And I think now I'm obviously reminiscing, we're reaching the 10th edition of the new Apollo Ties New Delhi Marathon, and
3 days.
Yeah. So and just to circle back to this, it's more that I remember that, I mean, fitness has always been a huge thing for me. It was always something that I always did. Whether it, I remember in school, for example, after a day or after training or what, after the end of the day or something like that, I just to crank out a couple of push-ups and squats or whatever, because I was I need to be fit. I need to keep ready. And I always felt that it just kept me focused and dialed in towards whatever I needed to do. And now that we're coming back to this, it's before that. I remember during the, before every morning, I would, for New Delhi, I would just wake up and I'd just do a couple of skipping and stuff. And I always had this thing, okay, I want to be into skipping because I met a boxer or something, and he was like, oh, boxers do this skip. And I saw this and I said, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it really works really well for me because everyone in the company is so interested in sport. My dad is very much into sport. He wants to grow running in India and things like that. So it was really easy for me to just like, okay, yeah, of course, like I want to work and I want to join this.
Yeah.
So it's like a very easy sell for me to be a part of the family business. Yeah.
Yeah. And how have you seen the Indian ultra running scene grow from where it started? Just to add to this, I'm just trying to remember from the time I started following the scene, the record used to be the legendary Arun Bhardwaj sir's.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was, his was, I think, 177 kilometers or something in 24 hours.
When did he do that, by the way?
Bro, I can't remember. I think 13 or something, 2013, 14 maybe. I could be completely wrong about that.
Yeah. I have an interesting story about it.
You do?
Way, yeah.
Were you a part of that?
No,
because NEB wasn't a part of that.
I wasn't. He actually ran in Bangalore.
48 hours.
I don't know, 48 hours. He ran in 2015. He had done, that was my first. Okay, that is actually the first time I ever saw a ultra. Because I actually did like a 21K once in my life, and I was like, okay, cool, like maybe running is not for me. But I was like 20 or 19 years old, and I was like, okay, cool, like this isn't for me. But of course, like running is a mature sport. You need to be mentally mature to take up the sport because it takes that kind of patience to run for so long. And I don't think I had that patience at all as a kid.
Or if you just keep at it, it makes you that person who is patient.
Yeah, I suppose. But I think coming from a sport like football and things like that, it's hard to.
It's very different from any other sport.
Yeah. Because I mean, what are you running for? Like in football or basketball, you might even do a 11 kilometer like, average distance or total distance. But what are you running for exactly? In football, basketball, I'm chasing after the ball. I'm moving to that position. But in running, you're just running. So
you're just running. It's monotonous, and on the surface it looks boring. But
it's very interesting.
It takes you to places where no other sport will actually take you.
Both of us.
We talked about it right before we started rolling.
But back to Arun sir. So actually, that was the first time I actually saw an ultra. So we did the 24-hour stadium run in Bangalore in I think 2015, and I saw Arun sir. He was, I've never seen anyone run like that in my life. So I was more just fascinated by the fact that people are running for 24 hours straight. And that was insane for me. I remember struggling to keep awake because I was like, how am I going to stay awake for 24 hours? This is insane. And I love my sleep, by the way. So I was like, oh, I could be sleeping right now. And I remember towards the end of it, Arun sir had finished, and he was just so graceful and so sweet after the race. I mean, I actually had to like carry him because he ran so hard. I can't remember the distance he'd done. So he ran so hard, and he just like after the race, he just became like, I think it's after ultra running, like there's so many layers that we all have as human beings. And I've seen this happen in like so many races that slowly, all these like races, all these like layers just kind of get stripped away. And you're just left with this like bare emotional human being and individual. So I was seeing that in Arun sir, and I was just like deeply moved by it because he was so kind and so sweet, and he just kept thanking me, and I was like, I mean, you're welcome. I mean, I was just so moved.
But you're the hero. Hero of the moment.
And of course I was like, you're the hero of the moment. Like I cannot imagine doing what you did. But I was that's really what piqued my curiosity, or I would say like drove my fascination towards the sport.
When you see these performances and stuff.
And that was kind of why I even asked you those questions. I was trying to understand, like, okay, I've seen this, and I've asked out of curiosity, like what's going through your mind, and even your story as well was like really interesting.
So I think and he's still a great patron of the sport. Then there was Amit Gulia from Chandigarh, a friend of mine, great runner. He was then, I think he broke the national record and he ran 188.
Nice.
And then Pranay Mohanty in Delhi 24-hour stadium run, he was the first Indian to ever cross 200 in Delhi.
Crazy, right? I'm just saying only because like where we are right now.
And then
hearing this is just
exactly. And I think just a year later, Apurva, my friend,
Yeah.
who's now in the US,
Yeah.
became the first Indian woman to
She's
cross
also a
200.
fabulous runner.
She's
right?
fabulous. No, I think she crossed 200 mark in the World Championships, not
Okay.
in Delhi. Yeah, when
Mm.
she went to
Mm.
Albi.
Okay.
I think there she ran 200
Mhm.
point something.
Mm.
So it was fabulous. And now, of course, the national record is held by, I think, another friend of mine, Anju,
Oh, nice.
who's
She's a character.
yeah, 205, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So and then
I was
another,
there actually when she broke the record.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This was in where was this? Bangalore.
Yeah, Bangalore.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
She's got guts, man.
Yeah,
She's built like.
she's quite
Yeah.
amazing, and I think she does a lot of yoga and stuff as well. So
Mm.
that has probably helped her
Mm.
build that body that supports her.
Yeah.
I guess.
I wasn't.
There's-
I kind of. I'm sure we'll get into this at some point, but I
Mm.
wasn't really as involved into the Indian Ultra as I am now. So obviously, when I saw Anju, I was more an organizer. So I was just ensuring that the Team India tent had everything they needed, the Australian tent needed everything they had. Like
Yeah.
making sure as an organizer, everything's there, that they're happy, no issues. But I was there at these glimpses, and I remember, and like something very. The moment I saw Anju, I remember it's so vivid in my head. She just sat down and she was just struggling and suffering. And I remember Santosh was there and telling her like, okay, you can break it, you can create the national record. And she was just dragging her feet left, right, and center. And I think these glimpses are often the times that you really get to see somebody's character and what they're made of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember I had this conversation with Amar the other day. I was telling him, I said that, do you actually want to be a champion? Do you actually want to win? Because you have to make that decision. And, he told me like, yeah, I want to be a champion. I said, you make that decision not right now. You make that decision when it's 18 hours on race day and you're going to quit. Every part of you wants to sleep and you're tired. That's the time you make that decision, and that's when it matters.
Yeah.
It's everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, as Mike Tyson would say.
Yeah, well said. Yes, yes, absolutely. And then I think another close friend of mine, Binay, who actually lives pretty close by here.
Binay Shah, right?
Binay Shah, yes. He lives very close by. He's been here.
He's an Adidas runner,
he's a
if I'm
friend.
not mistaken, right?
He works with Adidas.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
cool. Okay, I've seen him at the 100K World Championship.
Yeah.
Sweet guy.
And I think time for me to say, I also co-founded this running group called the Sun Chasers.
Oh, nice.
And the first Indian contingent that went for the World Championships, I think out of 9 people, I think 6 or 7 were from Sun Chasers.
Oh, really?
So
cool.
Nice. A bunch of really nice people that I've been hanging out with. So Binay then made the national record, I think 233, 38 or something. And we were like, this is brilliant. And I think then it was Ulas Narayan, I think 250 plus.
Well.
Yeah, and then I think Amar just took it to the next level. I missed out a few names, of course. Some of the other runners who've been doing amazing.
Are you saying this by heart, by the way? You just have the numbers.
Because I've been every year we've been following.
Amazing.
It was just like cricket back in the day when we used to remember scores and everything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But now there's too much of it, so it's hard to keep track.
How beautiful is this sport?
Yeah, it is. It is amazing. Yeah. So
it's actually, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. When we go to these events, right? We see all these runners and things like that, and they're runners they're like us, the running culture just stayed. The running culture, all over the world, and you see everyone who just who's there for the love of the sport.
Yeah.
And unlike other sports, it's not, I mean, it's competitive, of course, but it's friendly, and that love is still there, which is beautiful.
Dude, you've just touched upon something that's so beautiful about this sport. It is a camaraderie, and
100%.
You see that on trail runnings, and you also see in our first conversation when you mentioned F1, it's exactly like that. So in Sun Chasers, the reason we made some waves in the running scene was actually because we were maybe the first ones, or even if we weren't, doesn't matter. We were in the stadium all night crewing for our people. So whether you're running or not, and what's fascinating to see is someone like a Suraj Chadha or a Hemant Beniwal, who've just probably made a national record of 100K. And after that, they're just craving a hot shower, right? But they will stand in the stadium on the track all night, crewing for their people and cheering for them. It's phenomenal. You know
what? It's so strange that you say. I mean, it's very. You've essentially just captured the beauty of the sport. And every time I try to tell people about this, and this is the one thing that I always try to tell them, is that I work really hard to kind of capture this moment to be like, hey, look, this is what's happening in ultra running, or this is what's happening in the running space. Like, not the records, not that, but it's just that the camaraderie, the love. It's that after somebody finishes a national record, or after they break their own personal best, they're back on the track, or they're back on the field being like, come on, they're cheering their team members. In case, like, after every marathon, somebody would have done, they would have like had a breakneck run to the finish line, and they're absolutely exhausted. They might fall down, they might collapse out of exhaustion. They pick themselves up, and the next thing that they want to do is, where's my team member? Where's my family member? Like, I want to watch them finish. I want to welcome them to the finish line, and it's beautiful.
It is amazing.
Yeah, it's powerful. I love that about the sport.
And I love the analogy that you drew about the layers that we all have. We're all like onions, and the longer you run, it actually just strips off all the layers, and then you get to see the real human being. And the longer and harder you go, the more you feel that. Which is why I do longer podcasts as well, because the longer you speak, the more authentic the conversations become.
Definitely, I definitely agree with you, because I always felt that the long form format is one of those things where you really get to know the person and you get to know how they think. Because that's often the things that it like I love learning that about people, like just sitting down. Because if I do like a 20-minute conversation, I mean, it's actually a lot of time, but in a podcast format or an interview format, like, I don't really learn anything about you. You can't hide after 3 hours, 4 hours.
Exactly. So Amar then took it to the next level with 272. Is that the national record, current national record?
You know what? I think I'll answer the first question. I'll loop it back to this.
Sure.
I think the first time I saw this, and this is from my experience. I'm sure you know more about this than me. From my perspective as a race organizer and somebody who kind of got introduced to the sport of running through organizing the races, I actually saw that in the beginning, the emphasis was more on reaching the finish line. You did a 24-hour run. Okay, let me make it to 24 hours. How much you did was never really important. It was that you finished and you reached. After a while, it became, I did 170 in 24 hours. I did something else in 24 hours. I did 200 in 24 hours. I did 250 in 24 hours, 250. Like, it just became about performance. And that's when you started seeing these things where, all the remarkable milestones that you touched on are just performance-based things. And it would be very interesting to actually like understand what each of those athletes had done to get them to that point, and then compare like what everyone else had done, and then we can kind of like share that. But that's something
that's sort
the
of similar
nerd
to
in me wants to.
But that's sort of similar to what you guys have been up to as well. Let's keep that suspense going for now. Let's talk about the Indian running scene. So it's now it's now gotten to a stage where it's about performance. Because we've been a part of world championships, we sort of had the opportunity and the exposure to see what the other athletes in other countries have been doing. And and dare I say, they were way ahead of us. They still are. But 272 just gives me that hope that, dude, it's not like hum to kahin bhi nahi hai. It's like we're getting there.
It's so interesting that you said this, because there's this topic that I think is very relevant to what you just mentioned is the difference. One of the main differences between us and everyone else in Europe and things like that is that, okay, I asked you this question, and it was something that I was kind of thinking about later, like, earlier today I was talking to Abhishek, our sports scientist, and we were having this discussion. He asked me this question of like, do you think any of these like running brands or whatever like that would be interested in doing R&D on Indian feet? And I asked him like, why would you do that? And he said for the simple fact of Indians start running much later and and we get categorized as Asian feet, but we're a little different. Because we start running at in our 30s or 40s and things like that, our the shape of our foot is different. The effect of or impact or gait, the biomechanics are kind of different, and that means that we kind of need a specific shoe for us. That's kind of why I was asking you that question. I was wondering, I was like, when did you start running? Because I think obviously Amar kind of ran much earlier in his life. Me included as well. I ran much earlier in my life, but so many people have started running later. And
Arun sir started running at 32, I think, and Binay started running 30 plus. Most of the runners in the ultra scene.
There's so much we don't know about the Indian population from a research perspective, which I feel like that gap really needs to be filled. And even just understanding like feet, because I mean, in running, like biomechanics, running efficiency and things like that is everything. When it comes to performance, you can get from A to B, hobble around.
Yeah.
Run like that. But if you want to get there at a particular time, at a particular speed, particular pace, you need to look at biomechanics.
Oh, I didn't know that this, is Asian feet is a thing?
Actually, I'm really curious. I have a lot of questions to ask. We have some of our partners. I have a lot of questions to ask them, being like, "Hey, would you guys be?" I might pitch something to them, but I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah.
Even though, so we work with Ramaya University and things like that, and they're doing a lot of COVID related things. And even the question that I had asked them was that, okay, what's the difference between the COVID population sample size versus or sample data that you see here versus somewhere in Europe and things like that, and it's different.
It's different?
Yeah.
In what ways would you know? Or, that's not that subject of discussion.
Yeah. But it was different, and that's why they are studying this particular thing.
What's Rama University? Like, where is the university? And what do they do? Are they doing a lot of researches on Indian population?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
In sports as well?
I'm not sure what they're doing exactly. I don't know exactly, so I don't want to make a comment on that. But my relationship with them is that they've got a really nice performance center. So we actually do a lot of our testing there. Yeah, and they've got like a very sweet doctor who like helps out. He's an oncologist.
Okay.
Yeah, so he takes time out of his very busy day and comes and he helps, and he's kind of built a very nice relationship with Amar and Saurav and stuff.
Nice.
So every time he sees them, they also feel comfortable. And I think every athlete we've kind of just brought down there. The one thing that they've always said is that the warmth of the staff. And those guys are really busy, by the way. Like, they really go out of their way to make time for these athletes and, do the testing and things like that. And they're very meticulous about what protocol that we create, and they follow it to the T. So, very sweet team.
Lovely. Yeah. I think it's time to talk about the project.
Oh, okay. Yes,
what is so there is something that's been brewing.
Yeah.
What is it that you guys have been doing?
It's basically NEB Sports has been, very deeply invested in the ultra running space. I'm sure of the hospitality that we give runners. And we really want to that kind of goes to the pampering that we give runners, because we always see them as, really good friends and customers. And we want to, treat them like so, and like hospitality.
Yeah. And I'd also say you've also done a lot to encourage, build this culture as well. So when the first 12 hours and 24 hours, I think 24-hour runners were offered free tickets. I was one of the beneficiaries. You had to, of course, apply for them.
Yeah.
And if you qualify, there was a qualification criteria, of course. If you meet the criteria and you get accepted, then you run the Bangalore 24-hour race for free. Whereas I also benefited from that. So this is how people started running. That was a huge step of encouragement, I felt. Yeah. So people now got to experience that, and now I think more and more have been doing it.
Yes. We definitely, customer service has definitely been at the center of our main USP as NEB Sports, and we're really invested in the sport. And it's really, honestly, it's so much of it is driven by my dad and the work that he's done. I would really say that I really more fit into this is the strategy that we have. This is how we're going to do it. Okay, how do we make the most out of it? How do we get to where we need to get to? How do we optimize it? But the strategy is really given by him, and I just try my best to execute it to the best of my abilities. So as we've kind of gone more towards, performing on the world stage, and of course, Indian athletes are just doing such a good job. The natural question was that I had to ask was, okay, cool. How do we do something exciting? How do we create the new national record? How do we get to a new point? How do we break the world record? Something really exciting that definitely gives everyone back at home something to be excited about, be proud about.
Yeah.
Aspire to. So that's really what's in the works. And this all really started with me meeting Abhishek. He's a sports scientist. Originally, I had come to him because I was doing, I was sparring, and I had what did I have? I had some injury with my shoulder. I went to the doc because I was really nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm injured. What do I do? And I did enough YouTube rehab, and that didn't work out for me. So I went to a doctor, and the doctor said, why are you doing sport? Just quit. And I was in so much pain that I was like, you know what? I'm done with sport. And then it was my grappling coach that kind of messaged me, and he said, I miss you. I want to come back. And then I said, okay, cool. I'll come one day. And obviously I went back to the mats and I was like, I miss training. I miss everything to do. And I think even if you go running sometimes, if you run in a group or whatever, sometimes you don't run for your mileage. You run because you want to meet your family. They become like family. You're like running group members and things like that. And that's what I had. So I missed that a lot. So I said, okay, cool, let me go. And then he suggested, hey, meet this guy, Abhishek. So I met Abhishek. And Abhishek was awesome because he's a former athlete himself. So he knew that I'm itching to go back into sports. So he was like, okay, cool, you can, but you need to do these things. And it was like a little bit of a rehab thing that he had given me. And I was really meticulous and religious about it. And I was so happy that I was able to get back into sport and come back stronger. So that was one thing that that's like how our relationship built. Sure. And of course, through the times I started to talk to him and I started to understand like what he does. And he has a very interesting like perspective on sport because he's more about performance. He helped so many teams in like, I think Chandigarh FC, he had worked with them and he worked as head of performance. And all his entire role and job was, how do I get the best out of these athletes? Okay. From a performance perspective, and using every objective method available to get there. So that's kind of where he came from, and he kept talking to me about this, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. That's really interesting. And what ended up happening is, I think we were sending I was obviously there as the whole the India Ultra thing was going along, but I never really connected the dots or like would leverage the relationship I had with Abhishek. I was just like, okay, cool, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah. I work with him for my jiu-jitsu thing, and at some point whatever. But then what changed is that I had signed up for a jiu-jitsu competition. Okay, so I've never done a jiu-jitsu competition before. I am like really nervous, and for some weird reason I was like, I want to go to this competition and I just want to only drink water because I want to like find myself. Okay. Yeah, that's the worst idea you could ever do. Wow. Because I went there and I like just not to bore you with the details or whatever, but I went to that competition. I did one round, I won, but I was dead, like absolutely dead. Yeah. My energy was completely like flowed. I had like,
not surprised.
Yeah, like my glycogen stores were completely depleted because I was like really anxious and nervous, and my adrenaline was shot up, so everything felt really extra. And afterwards, somehow somebody had thrown me a packet of Electrol and were like, just drink this. And I was like, I had it, and I'm like, wow, I feel alive. I feel like I can keep going. And obviously Abhishek was like really helping me like train for this thing. Sure. And then I had sent him the videos being like, hey, that's what I did. And then he said, okay, what did you look really exhausted by the way. What did you like eat or whatever? I was like, no, I didn't eat anything. And he's just like, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you do that? And then I was like, yeah, I think I was just being dumb. But then after that, he kind of asked me these questions about like, okay, cool, like you want to go and you want to do these things, but we know you can go and you can maybe win, but are you giving it your best? Is that the best version of you at that tournament? So that really started, turning the gears in my head where I was like, okay, cool, like interesting. So energy gels is a thing, electrolytes is a thing, carbohydrates is a thing, protein is a thing, fats is a thing. Okay, cool. I can see how this like plays and when do I take it and things like that. And as this was happening, NEB started this Energy Bar. So it's like our supplement brand and things like that. And we use our supplements mostly to like, give our electrolyte to runners and stuff. And we keep it, we don't kind of like go overboard on the marketing, but we just mostly like give the target our runners and stuff. Yeah. So as that was happening, then I started competing. So there was these things that were happening. And then of course, like when we started, I realized that, okay, cool, like, energy gels is like very known to runners. Yeah. Whereas it's completely unknown to the rest of, sports. Exactly. Yes. So I was like, wow, so we have this opportunity. There's this, we're sending athletes there, and why not try to see a way we can like leverage it, because we're sending them either way. May as well try to do something with it. Then we kind of got involved with a little bit of their training, but we didn't want to disrupt anyone's training because we were like, hey, you are where you are as an athlete. We don't want to get involved too much because you already doing a good job. Yeah. Like we don't want to get too involved. And then I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I can like ask Abhishek, and maybe I can just be like, what do you think? So it started off with, I think after the Chinese Taipei event. Okay. Yeah, I think it was in I can't remember, 2023.
23 maybe.
23, right? Yeah, 23. And leading up to 24, we did the Asia, Oceania in Canberra. And I think India was defending its title and things like that. So there was a lot of like importance for, okay, cool, let's do something interesting. And I think what happened after that is Amar and Saurav, I can't speak for everyone else. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know them as personally as I know those guys. Is they kind of Swarov's I'm sure the guy, he's the world record
Oh yeah,
holder.
of course.
Yeah. How do you say his name again?
Sorokin.
Sorokin, yeah. Okay. So their whole race day plan was to run at his pace and just keep at his pace.
What?
Yeah, it was literally their race plan. I didn't know this, and I mean, again, like I'm not like a runner or an expert. I would say like I'm more of an enthusiast, or I'm just like a spectator, just observing, eating popcorn, being like, oh yeah, really? Okay, cool. Yeah. So when they said this, I'm like, yeah, why not? It seems like a good idea, but it's actually not a good idea at all. And our team coach, Santosh, was there, Indian team coach was there. So he said, no, that doesn't work that way. And then him and me kind of sat down and we were like, okay, cool. Like we want to do something special. Like we want to, like do something amazing. Let's see what we can do. And we kind of, because every other athlete was, staying not in Bangalore, it was difficult for us to like work with them and understand what they feel, because we didn't really like know what was going on the day-to-day basis. So we said, let's just like keep it small. Let's just work with Amar and I'll just go a little few sentences back. We kind of reached a point where we were like, okay, let's keep it small. Let's work with athletes that are here, because it's easier to understand what they're going through. I'm sure you understand, like, you train for an event like an ultra, you're putting in the mileage. There's so many things that happen every single day in your training that you might need assistance and you might need coaching to. So we said, let's keep it small. And what we ended up doing is we ended up taking Amar and Saurav and we gave them like a race day sheet. And the first thing that we did is we kind of like realized that these guys weren't running nearly enough. And so we did is...
So how did you arrive at what was enough?
Okay, I'll give you an example. I hope you don't ask me any technical questions, because I'll just like blank out.
No, I don't know any technical stuff
like,
either.
So great. It's just two enthusiasts.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are really into the sport.
Precisely.
So my observation or my understanding from the discussions, because this was a discussion between Abhishek and Santosh, because they were kind of looking at it, and I was just facilitating the conversation and understanding, ensuring there's enough, logistics arranged or whatever. So my understanding was that the main difference that Santosh had kind of like brought about, that he asked Abhishek, was that I don't think these guys are running nearly enough. They're running a 24-hour race. At some point, they kind of need to run more than what they're currently doing. And the question is, what are they doing? They were running for, I think, a 24-hour race. I think the max that they ever ran was like 8 hours or 12 hours or something. 8 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours. You can't really prepare for it, from my understanding. You can't really like go from that distance of mileage to then doing a 24 hours. So they were like very undertrained for a 24-hour race.
Okay.
So we immediately just like made it a very we made a plan or a protocol or a testing that we were going to say that, okay, cool, like instead of just randomly running at different paces and wondering what we're going to do, we are going to basically have like a very simple thing of, we want to run at a particular pace. We want to know what his optimal pace is and create an objective test around it. And then we want to like have the training happen and then do a test at the end of the training and understand, did the training work? Can the athlete run at that pace? And that's really where Abhishek and Santosh really like worked together, because Abhishek came up with the protocol and Santosh came up with the training plan, and Abhishek had his inputs and things like that, and they kind of worked together. And something really cool is the protocol that was made is our own protocol. Like we developed it, which is really cool. It's like our own IP. I don't want to share like too much on it because it's like intellectual.
But would you be able to share what tests were done before and after to sort of determine that it worked?
What do you mean by that? Can you explain?
Like you're saying, you had them run at a certain pace, and you did some tests before they started running and some tests after they started running. After they finished running.
I'll try to explain a little bit.
I mean, share whatever you can share.
Of course. So what we basically did is we wanted to understand substrate utilization. Now, are you aware of a CPET device?
No.
A CPAT device is basically a mask that you wear.
Oh, the one that you wear for VO2 Max testing.
VO2 Max, yes.
Okay,
VO2 Max, yeah.
I've
It's called a
gotten test
CPAT.
done.
I don't know,
All right.
Central Pulmonary, I don't know, something. It's
Yeah,
called
okay.
CPAT.
Yeah.
Because I also thought it's VO2, and then I went to the hospital and they're like, yeah, CPAT analysis,
Yeah.
CPAT analysis. And then after that, I was just
So
CPAT.
a cardiologist who's also a runner actually
nice.
helped me get this done. So
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is why he knew, like, to me he was saying VO2 Max, and to the hospital he was saying
CPAT.
CPAT.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So they basically did, okay, for the sake of this, we'd say like VO2 Max test. And even I also knew about VO2 Max. And the one myth that was kind of broken for me is that VO2 Max is not really relevant for runners. Because what VO2 Max is basically telling you is that it is like your whatever, the maximum VO2, whatever that you have. And that doesn't necessarily give you a good indicator about your race day performance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it also depends on how, like, mind, right? How much you're able to push as well.
I think the other factors that play into it are running mechanics, biomechanics, like strength and conditioning, all that sort of stuff, lactate threshold. So these are all these like multiple factors that would define your performance on race day. So what we basically did is we got them on a CPAT analysis, and then we measured their carbon dioxide and their oxygen, and we did like their lactic tests at different intervals, and we kind of wanted to understand as what is their baseline optimal pace and how can we get it to a target pace. Like we had the goal of him reaching 300 in 24 hours.
Wow.
Like that was what we were aiming for. Obviously, like when you have like highly motivated individuals, like and by the way, like we're all doing this because we love the sport.
Yeah.
So what keeps us together? An ambitious goal.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, cool, let's do 300.
Yeah.
That's like something we really want to chase after. So that was something that I was like, okay, let's make it happen. And yeah, like both of these guys are very aggressive and different. I'll tell you different stories about these guys. That I'll tell you that they're really aggressive.
Yeah.
But we had this thing of let's make it to 300. It needs to run a particular pace. I can't remember what it was. It was like 4 point something.
Wow.
And we said that he needs to do that pace, and if he runs that pace for 24 hours, he'll reach 300.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had that test, and then we had done the testing cycle, then we had done the training and things like that. And then of course, like nothing ever goes according to plan. So many issues happen. These guys have a life, it's life outside the sport.
Yeah.
They got pulled in so many different directions. And that's really the testament of the thing about that character, which I got to see through the course of this entire thing, because I could see like, wow, man, you guys are like really working hard. It's easy for me to just say, or, for us to be like, actually, it's easy for me to say like, oh yeah, run 100 kilometers. Oh yeah, run this, run that. But to actually like sit there and wear your shoes and run is like something else altogether.
Sure.
And these guys like put in the work for it.
Are both of these professional runners, or do they have full-time jobs?
They're part of the Air Force. So they're under the athlete.
Yeah.
I think the Air Force has like a quota thing for that. So they fall into that, and they train full time.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, they have like certain orders every now and then that they have to do, and they comply with it.
Sure.
So that was really the testing thing that we had done. And so then we kind of go on race day. I told you some of the stories, and you found it interesting. I kind of like sharing with you because I actually didn't get to talk much about this to someone, because I remember after the race, I just felt like something very surreal happened to me, and I didn't know who to talk to because no one understood, because they're not runners, right? Like, I mean, who would I talk to? Because
now's the time.
Now's the time. So I'm really excited to share this with you. But I'll tell you something about the people that we have in the performance team who are like aggressive and like they're really, really focused and determined. Now, Abhishek is a former cricket player. He is like a very determined guy. If he works on something, he's going to work on it 100%. So I remember in the martial art or the sport that I play, you have to cut weight at certain points. So what happened is I was basically traveling, doing a bunch of events, doing the NEB circuit, and traveling hotels and traveling a lot. You don't always get access to good food. And I have a little bit of a sensitive stomach where I might like retain more water, and it's hard for me to like lose that water weight. So losing weight or cutting weight for me is kind of hard. So I was at one point 81 or 82, and then I had to compete at 76.
Oh.
Yeah. And I told Abhishek, like, hey, there's a competition happening in Delhi. I competed in it last year. I really want to go again. Do you think I can make the weight? And he was like, of course, yeah, why not?
How much time did you have to cut the weight?
I think about 4-5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, to lose about 6 kilos.
Six
Huh?
kilos.
Yeah. But the problem was it was actually during Diwali and all this
Oh,
stuff.
man.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
difficulty level Pro Max.
Yeah. So I basically I kind of left everything to the last minute almost. First week I was like, maybe I'll have a, gulab jamun here, kaju katli here, whatever sweets that were there. I was like, I'm going to eat this and that. It was really tasty. And then I was like, okay, cool. Like, weight's not going. I'm going to have to like really suffer and, earn my tough guy card. So I had to like, wear a bunch of jackets and stuff like that. And it's crazy. Like, you'd think like a coach, at least my assumption of a coach is like, hey, don't push yourself too hard. Like, go out there and have fun. Abhishek was like, you need to lose all that weight right now. Like, I don't care what it takes. Like, and his whole thing was, I think, just drinking like, I think black coffee is like a diuretic basically.
Yeah, it is.
Like, you lose water or whatever. So I was like on the cycle with like 3 jackets on and cycling for like 1.5 hours. And it was horrible, like absolutely horrible. And Abhishek was like, I don't care what you need to do. You just need to like go out there and like do it. And he had this thing about like when I was going and training, like it became like a very spiritual thing at that point because I was suffering so much because of the weight cut was so bad. He would just constantly tell me about like, he's like, you need like, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And he's telling me that, hey, like as a cricketer, like he knew what was going on inside the, in cricket and things like that. And he's like, hey, Sachin couldn't sleep before, big games. Yeah. And like, it's normal. Like it matters. Like it's difficult. It's the pressure is there. Like, and I was always like, oh my God, I don't want to do another day. And it was always like that. Like I was like, I'm going to make it to the end of the day and then I want to quit. And I woke up and I'm like, okay, another day and I'm going to quit. And weirdly enough, like actually the day of the comp, I was 78 and I still had to lose like 2 more kilos.
What?
Yeah, it was insane. And
you had your own Vinesh Fogart moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
So the funny story is like I go there and like I was like, okay, cool. I mean, okay, we're not at the same level. I can always go up a weight class, and I was like, I give up. Like I've suffered enough. I'm done. I go there, and obviously, like I'm anxious. I'm nervous because before you go and compete, when you're like weighing in, you're weighing with all the other fighters, and everyone's like puffing their chest out. And at this point, I don't get intimidated too much now because I'm like, okay, cool. Everyone's actually scared inside, but everyone's kind of puffing up their chest. But in the past, like it would affect me. So I would go to the toilet a lot to like, go number 1, number 2, because I was so nervous. So while that was happening, I went to the toilet a bunch of times and I lost weight, and I was 76.8 on the scale. And I said, oh, okay, there's a chance. I said, when can I, how much time do I left before I can like make weight? And then they were like, yeah, okay, cool. Like you have so and so time. I like ran to the gym. I wore like 4 jackets, went to the sauna, and I was doing jumping jacks. And I was like, I'm going to do it.
Wow.
And then I came back and then I went on the weighing scale. I like took off like pretty much all the clothes I have, just my underwear. And I was like 75 and I did it. And
wow,
I was insane.
You
I
made
loved
it.
Yeah, it was, I felt like I won. Like I won the tournament. I was like, now I have to fight. Yeah, but Abhishek did not, like, he was just like, yeah, you're expected to do it. So he had that like aggression, of like, there's no like, okay, nothing doing like that. You signed up for it, you got to do it. Now you jolly well do a good job. So he kind of had that, he brings that energy with him. And the thing with Santosh, okay, I don't know if you've met Santosh Padmanabhan.
I haven't, but I've spoken with him a couple of times.
Soft
as
guy,
he's,
right? Very soft spoken.
Crude a lot of people, right?
Very soft spoken, very kind.
Of course.
So aggressive. So aggressive.
Yeah.
He's a very aggressive. No, not in a bad way.
Sure.
Like
of course.
he's got the focus. He's got that drive.
Like the spirit.
Like the real drive.
Mind.
And I'll tell you something. Like this was like obviously when we went on the track. Okay, now we're kind of going into this entire thing of these guys get on the track and we have this target. And Santosh had this thing before the Canberra event. He was like, all we need is one chance. That was what he kind of left the entire team with. And that was really inspiring, like a very inspiring moment where he kind of gave us that hope and ambition. So we've done all the testing. We have all the data saying that, these guys can do it. We've come up with the race plan of like every, he needs to consume X amount of carbohydrates. We've come up with all this stuff. And now we go on race day. And I'm nervous. Santosh has that like steely resolve of like, okay, cool, we're going to do this. Obviously, like, I'm like, what's going to happen? Because when you're a crew member or when you're a coach or whatever, there's no control. I don't know what these guys are going to do. I want them to win, but I can't do anything about it. They have to like go and do it. So I am like very nervous and I'm kind of like anxious, and these guys are like, okay, cool. And there were so many moments during the entire race where, the athlete is tired, they're not able to do it. And, Santosh is like, no, this is the plan. Go and do it. You can do it. Don't stop. Don't quit. Look at the other person. Do it. And that like determination and drive to just keep going after the target. And he said something so powerful. I'm sure like you'll agree to this. He said that the thing with athletes in the running thing is that the second you drop your standard or your goal, it just leads to a cascading negative momentum, and it just goes off.
Yeah.
So
I just remembered many years of running. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's this drive that you just, this determination, this grit that we all have to have, especially as like runners running ultra and things like that. You have to have that if you're running for performance. That's
sure.
If you're running for the fun of it, like have fun, like walk every now and then, like talk to your friends, like maybe even take a nap,
have a tea,
tea, do your thing. But if you're running for a goal and a performance like that, you can't compromise. No compromises at all. You just have to make it. You stick to the plan. You do it. And that's the other beautiful thing about like ultra running in 24 hours is that you can actually like predict everything that's going to happen. Not much can change because it's a linear sport, right? There's no like collision, there's no impact, there's no contact. So you can actually like do all the testing and you can figure out that, okay, cool, in, physiologically, this is what's going to happen to my body in 10 hours, 12 hours. So and so, this is how much my body can tolerate carbs. So you can plan and prepare for everything. So this is like the perfect sport. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I thought the variables are way too many. Like the human body, there's barely any control over it. Like kahan pe dard hoga?
Okay,
who can,
of course.
Like what will flare up in today's run?
So you brought about this like really great point, and you're talking about like a biomechanical issue. Like if you're running and all of a sudden you're getting like knee pain or whatever, like that's like you need to have like a team behind you or like a community or a structure that can really like address these things. It's not just enough to like go do a running plan or like a run plan. You have to like supplement it with like proper biomechanical like incidents or biomechanical like things that like workouts or whatever or like strength and conditioning that addresses your biomechanical deficiencies,
your body's weaknesses.
Yes, exactly.
Imbalances.
Yeah, okay, fine. Amar's got a weird gait. He runs weird. It's not normal. Like I think the two examples are like Saurav has got like the what you would think of as a runner, like the perfect running form, and Amar's got this like almost like a strange form. And when we do his like strength and conditioning work and things like that, we address all the biomechanical deficiencies that come from that, and we address it.
Okay.
So that's the other part of it.
Right.
But again, like we train in such a way that we identify that, okay, cool, in like 6 hours of running and 8 hours of running and 12 hours of running, what happened? And we do those, like we have him come to the gym and stuff like that. And we see that, okay, cool, like he reported this issue. Let's see where it stems from exactly. Let's recreate that issue in the gym so we can understand why it's happening and then address it and fix it.
That's amazing, actually. Because why it didn't occur to me is because as in the amateur athlete scene, you don't have this level of support. In fact, at best, you'll have your coach who'll probably ask you later what happened and half the things you forget because you're in your zone and you don't have a support team.
Of course.
Really anybody does. But when you're going for performance, I guess.
And this is really what we were trying to create in this event. But obviously for the Canberra event, we didn't really have much very specific strength and conditioning that targeted these things. And athlete getting injured was always like a possibility, and it is a possibility when you're doing these extreme sports. But
of course.
Yeah, so we were obviously like me and Santosh were like terrified of this because you're like, what if they get injured? And there wasn't any like strength and conditioning coach at that time. Obviously now there is. So at that moment we kind of like go there and it starts to rain. It like pouring wet, and I'm a crew member. I'm carrying like everybody's stuff. We're going to the tent, and this is not like an NEB event. This is like a race abroad, and they don't care.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's raining. Like, you should have probably got an umbrella. You know, I'm sure if it rains in our event, we're like, no, we'll create a way, we'll give you a structure, we'll give you umbrellas. Like this hospitality is not extended outside of an NEB race. So as an organizer, I was a little bit like, okay, cool, like, come on, guys. But then I was like, fair enough. Like, this is what it is. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And you make do. We kind of like go to the tent and we set up and get everything set up, and these guys start running and everything goes fine. It's raining a lot, so it's kind of cold, you know.
What temperatures are we talking about?
I think less like 17, 15, 20 types. I can't remember the exact one, but it's cold because it's raining, right?
Yeah.
We're feeling the cold and things like that. So they go running and it's raining, and as they're running, the shoes and stuff like that, they get wet. And obviously, like, this is like F1, right? They come, we store the shoe, and then we're giving them a fresh shoe. We tie the lace and stuff like that. So I really felt like,
no, I mean, I understand the F1 analogy, but do you want to tell people what we're talking about exactly? So in a 24-hour race in a stadium, you as a crew and you have a runner who's visiting his tent or her tent for a brief few seconds, and you have to do certain things. What are those? Yeah.
So as a runner comes into a tent for multiple reasons. In a 24-hour stadium run, you'll see the runner more frequently because it's a 400-meter track. And as they come there, they typically want to talk to. I mean, they don't really want to talk to the coach. It's more the coach is communicating to them, telling them, like, giving them certain inputs, certain advice, or they don't talk at all. At certain points, there's no communication. It's just you build an understanding or rapport with the athlete, and then okay, cool, he's good or she's good.
Yeah.
Just let them do their thing. All good. When there's certain like weather instances or weather incidents that happen, for example, it rains a lot. Now the athletes' shoes are wet. Okay, they can run through the wetness, but at a certain point when it starts to dry, there's like issues with chafing and all these like other blisters and stuff that come up. At that point, you kind of need to do a tire change or a shoe change.
Yeah.
So they come down, and then we're like scrambling to like get it and stuff like that. So what happened is it starts raining, and then at a certain point it stops, and then these guys are like running, and it's now starting to, like, the sun's coming up and they're trying to change shoes, and then again it starts raining. So it's like this weird like rain, not rain. It's like it's kind of this like going between the two, and at around 12 in the afternoon the sun comes up, and at that point we're like, okay, cool, great. Because by the way, like, where the crew in the tent, if it's raining, the entire floor is wet.
Yeah.
So now we have to ad hoc like take everything that is there in the like on the bottom and like bring it up, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's really and I'm like icked out by water sometimes. I'm like, oh, it's too gila, you know. I want to like not. I want it nice and dry.
Yeah.
And just like whatever, you just gotta tough it out at that point. So we kind of just like do our thing there, and then immediately as soon as that happens, we're drying everything.
Yeah.
Whatever wet clothes there are, we're putting it out to dry, and we're being as creative as we can. And of course, we're from India, right?
Yeah.
So we use everything.
All
possible.
the jugaad.
Yeah, all the jugaad possible. And then the other countries started seeing what we did. And then, of course, like we're runners, right? So we're like, yeah, of course, like, give us your stuff. We like put it out there, and we started looking out for one another, and that happened. And then all of a sudden it started raining again in like, I think like afternoonish. Again, you take everything back, and then shoe change and whatever, and goes. And now we start going into the the nighttime. And again, it starts getting cold. So during this time, the doubt started creeping in for some of the athletes.
Yeah.
And then that started affecting everybody. And I remember like this one Australian guy, he was just suffering the entire time. I don't know what happened to this guy. He just couldn't run. He was just like walking. And he was like making like such a, like, I could feel the pain seeing his face. And I was so like touched by that. And I was just like, I think everyone in the crew kind of all made that decision. Like, we just knew that let's like cheer this guy. He's suffering a lot. And at that point we were like, come on, he's run for so long. Like, we kept cheering for him. So every time he came, we were like, yeah, I forgot his name, but yeah, Stanley, let's go on. We're all cheering for each other, right?
Yeah.
So like we made it a point to keep him going and things like that. And he like looked at us and he smiled, and then he kept going, and whatever we can do. And I really wanted him to see while I wasn't looking out for the runners, I was like keeping like an eye out for him. Okay, cool. Like, I want him to win.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want him to give up because it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So but as we're going to the evening time, I'm seeing this guy run, and he's like suffering like crazy. I feel really bad for him. And now we start seeing like the creep come in of like doubt, and that's when Santosh kind of like gave that input of like, no compromises. This is the plan. This is what we do. You need to stick to it. The thing about Amar is that as long as he's smiling, I think everything's good. Like no issues. When he stops smiling, we're all like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's up? So he was smiling the entire time. Now he stopped smiling.
And what point are we at? How many hours into it?
I think it's like around 4, 5, 6. The sun was setting. I can't remember exactly. Happened like last year. So that the sun was setting. He was trying to like feel a little off. And now we're going into again where like he's still persisting. He's still keeping that. He's still keeping the pace and everything like that. And he's winning by a long shot. He's winning by a long shot. It's very clear that at this point he's number one. But I felt like in my head I could see that Amar in his head he was like, I just want to win. He's like, I'm going to win. But we didn't want that. We wanted that 300 thing. And I kind of like this thought occurred to me while all this was happening, and I was just thinking to myself, like, I want him to do 300. Like, we all want him to do 300. We've trained for this. We've come up with a plan for him to do this thing. But at a certain point, like, he had done like, I think what was his previous record?
250 something, I think.
Yeah, 250. Asking him to run 50 kilometers more.
Yeah.
Can you? I mean, it's this psychological thing, right?
Yeah.
Of like you're running like I think the way PBs work, or in my understanding, because like even when I do like like try to do a max bench like a deadlift or whatever, I'll increase it by a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like put another 10, 20 kilos more. Like that's just like I'm like, why would I do that? Like that because that's my max. So now I'm asking this guy to like, or we're asking this guy to like run more, and he kept asking this doubt of like, oh, I'm going to win, right? I'm going to win, right? And we're like, no, you need to break your record. Like, you need to like shatter your record. You need to like go well beyond the finish line.
You need to do something no Indian has done so far.
You need to do something remarkable. You need to be like, you need to be amazing.
Yeah.
You need to find your ultra.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that thing started to creep in, and I started to like have like, I was like, okay, cool. Maybe he might not do 300, but as long as he wins, right?
Yeah.
As I was telling this to Santosh, like, as long as he wins, right? He's like, no, he needs to do it. And I was like, okay, cool. And then as soon as it came to like 12, right? Midnight, it's cold. I remember it was like so cold because I had like one jacket and my jacket got wet. I had like another jacket and like that jacket was completely wet, and now I started to really feel cold because it's wet and it's like the wind is coming and stuff. So I was like really struggling. And I was like, man, this is so cold. I can't imagine what these guys are up to. And we're giving them everything they need at this point. And that's when Amar started having a lot of doubts. Yeah, he really struggled at that point. And I remember one time he came and he sat down in front of our tent and he told us he can't run anymore. That was I felt really bad for that guy because he suffered so much. I saw how well he ran. I know everything that went into him reaching that point, and then he was just like, I can't do it. I can't run anymore. And I was kind of taken aback because I don't want him to see him suffer anymore. I was like, just stop. But I didn't say that. I was like in my head, I was like, what do you need? Like, what can I give you? Like, can I massage your leg? Can I, whatever you need to like get to the finish line or whatever. And Santosh was like, you need to do this. You can do this. And he kept pushing him. He said, just one more round. Just do this, do that. And we realized at that point that he gets motivated by other people running around him. So we said, like, why not find somebody in the running group and try to like keep up with them? It was like one strategy that we had. And okay, cool, let's try to figure it out. But he's still there and he's suffering and he's like, I can't do it. And we like literally we just like picked him up and like, go. He like went. And I was just in awe of that guy at that point. I was like, how do you do that? Like,
dude, I get chills.
Yeah, how do you do that? Like, you're just like, he just like started running, and I was just like so moved by that because I was like, how can a human being do that? Like, that, like, I can see he's at his breaking point and he just like literally were like throwing, and it's trust, right?
Yeah.
He trusts us at that point. He trusts us with his body. He trusts us with his life, his soul at some point, at some level, right? He's like, you know more than me. You trust me. You know what I can do. You're telling me I can go more. Okay, I'll go more. And we just goes. And then off he goes. And I told Santosh, I was like, I felt so bad for like being a part of that moment. I was like, why did we do this? Poor guy, let him stop. And he was like, no, he can do this. He had that much faith in Amar. Like, he was like, I know what he can do. I've seen him train. I've been in training, in several training sessions he had run with him. Not run with him, but he was with him during these like tough moments. And he told him like, you can't give up. This is what champions are made of, and you are a champion and stuff like that. And he kind of mentored him, guided him through all those tough moments. So he had that relationship, that connect with him. So he knew him.
And understanding of his athletic capabilities, the way his mind works. When you spend time, that's what happens.
As a coach, right? Yeah. So he did that for him, and he pushed him off, and I felt so bad. I was like, at that point, me and Santosh were trying to figure out a way to keep him motivated. We saw this Australian guy running, he was like running, and he was also like, he was second, I think. So, we kind of like were trying to keep him motivated. We're like, I'm gonna just follow him. So we started telling that guy his lap timing, because they made like a chain, like the Australians made like a, and they do this thing in running, right? They run like in a line or something like that. They keep pace or whatever. So they were doing it, and we started telling them the pace time. So we kept them like, motivated or whatever. And then we're like, I'm gonna just go behind these guys. They started like, he started like, I don't know what happened. We thought it worked because Amar kept running. We're like, okay, let's not mess it up. Like it's going according to plan. And then at some point, you know what, Amar just disappears. Because we have a plan, where like every 1 hour he needs to eat X amount of gels, X bananas, he needs to consume so much amount of sodium. That means he's having like X amount of liquids or whatever. So now, like I see, like you keep track, right? Okay, he's done so many rounds. That other guy's done so many rounds, and then at a certain point, we're like, "Where's Amar? Like, he's not here." I started freaking out. I go outside and I'm like, "Where's Amar? He's not even on the track." I'm like, "What the hell happened to? Where did he go?" Like, I felt, it's really weird. Like, I felt so. I felt this like deep connection with everyone on the track, especially the Indian. I'm crewing for these people, right? So like
they're representing India. You're part of the Indian team.
I think at a certain point when you're in that crew tent, it didn't become about India. It just became about
these
like,
guys,
these people. Like we're just like together in this like suffering session together. So I am like deeply connected to you. And if you don't go missing, if you go like missing or something like that, like what happened to you? Like, are you okay? Where did you go? Like, where are you exactly? I looked everywhere for him, and I thought as if I like lost a loved one or something. I searched everywhere for this guy. I couldn't find him, and then all of a sudden, he just like randomly shows up, and I'm like, thank God he's back. And then one thing after another, I think he broke his like national record. Once he did that, he was like, that just gave him the momentum, and then he just kept running. We definitely didn't get to 300, but we definitely got to that 270 thing, which is like 20 something off. But I mean, I had the thing of like, okay, cool. Why
did he win?
Yeah, he won. Yeah,
he was number one.
Yeah, he's number one. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but I guess in 272, I just forgot about his rank.
Yeah.
Where the hell had he gone?
Okay, he went to the toilet. He went to the toilet and he passed out in the toilet.
Oh man!
Yeah, he literally went. I don't know what he said. Like, I was just wondering, like, how do you pass out in the toilet? Like, I don't know what he went number one or number two. He just like went like that and he just fell. Yeah. And I mean, I think for that event, like the one good, like the unanimously good feedback that everyone got from the event was that the toilets were like superbly clean. I'm sure as a runner, like that's a huge thing.
A luxury.
Right? Yeah. So he was like, everyone was like, dude, it was so clean, I could fall asleep in it. I was like, okay, works. And he then after that 270, after the 250, he broke it for his national record previously. After that, he went in. That was just like beautiful.
Brilliant.
To see him. I think on the last lap, I was with the race director. I went with him. By the way, that guy does jiu-jitsu. So he had like cauliflower ear. It's like a thing in like grapplers have. So I met him and I was like, oh hey, do you play rugby or something? Because they also get cauliflower. He's like, oh no, I do this thing called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, no way. And then once I found out that he also found out that I'm also a grappler, we just connected on that, and then we became like he kind of changed because he became this like, oh hi, how are you? Like, oh my god, you do jiu-jitsu too. And we were like, let's. I didn't know this, but he found like a gym to train at during the entire period. And I said, dude, why didn't you tell me? Like, I'd have come with you. We could have like had a couple of sparring sessions and bonded on that. But I mean, we didn't get time, so it's fine. So when I told him like, hey, like, make the announcement. This guy, like, bro, he's about to break the national record. Amar, like giving him the flag and stuff like that, and just watching him run. It's just so.
I can imagine.
Amazing.
Are there videos of this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I can send it to you.
Yeah, we should put them up.
Yeah, it was so beautiful because it's like, again, like I just felt so connected to every Indian athlete that was there. It's like that, and to see like somebody do that remarkable achievement.
Huge. I think now we were well short of the target, but this is definitely huge. Like every athlete, this gives us hope. Yeah, like it's not an incremental progress. This is monumental.
Yeah,
this is.
It's so nice to talk to you about this because when we're in the lab and when we're in these meetings and looking at data and stuff like that, or we're talking to we're talking to Amar and stuff like that, we often get like we're only looking at our weaknesses and what we're doing wrong, and we don't look at the bigger picture and what we did or how far we've come. And I think just like listening to you talk about this kind of, it made me feel proud. And I was like, okay, cool, like we did something right. Because like I think even just yesterday we had a team call and we were just like, okay, cool, this is not working, that's not working, this is not going according to plan. This is, we missed this testing cycle. This is what data we missed. We need to fix this. We need to do that. And I think this it's nice. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for what you guys have been doing. I mean, it's a small community. Ultra running is unfortunately a sport that does not make money, and people don't make money through this. Yeah. And like overall, there isn't much money to be made in the sport, which is why it's not a spectator sport. So
it is. I think it really can be.
It can be. Yeah. It can be. Like people who've visited stadiums, like it's a spectacle.
I mean, see, like I wouldn't say like I'm a runner. I like combat sports. I enjoy watching it. But when I go to the stadium run and stuff like that, like I'm actually like I'm engaged. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Like, oh wow, like you kind of have to sit there. I think we can figure a way to do it, but I think it is definitely interesting.
It'll be amazing if we can pull in more crowds. It'll be fabulous. Because I mean, not everyone knows. Like the person seeing it from the outside does not know what's going on. It's only when you're following stories. If only when you're following people.
So that's so true that you said that, because I think us as human beings are so attracted to stories. We're so story driven. Like we want, when we just talk, right? We're like, oh, how's your day? Like, what's your story? What happened to you? What story happened? And it's interesting.
And at some point you get invested in it. Like then you're like, you want the person to win. It's crazy. And fabulous. And I was just going to say something about what you guys have been doing. So I was saying, it's a small community that cares about people, and the ones who do are deeply invested in it. It's like our group is buzzing with messages when there's an event going on. So whether it's a 24 hours or it's an event abroad. So when one of our pals, Amit Gulia, who's also represented India, he's when he went to Spartathlon, we all of us decided to run with him in spirit.
Beautiful.
So we like made an Excel sheet of these two guys are running from 4 to 9 p.m. and then these two guys take over in Bombay. These two guys take over then in Lucknow. Everywhere, and it was and somebody's running with you in spirit at some point. So we are so like into the sport. We love it. Like it's what binds us.
Just to like wrap that story, Amar finishes. We all finished the race, and Amar kind of like, obviously he stopped running. And what do you think happens to athletes after 24 hours of running? Kind of breakdown, right? Yeah. Amar like kind of fell apart in a little bit. Like his legs are exhausted. Wrapped him up in, he felt very cold, wrapped him up in an aluminum foil and things like that, and had to personally carry him to the doping when they do like a drug test or whatever. So I had to personally carry him, and he sat there in the medical, I think there's like a doping center there, and they're very sweet, like all runners there. So they were like, obviously, like I felt very protective. I was like, is he gonna be okay? He was like, no, we'll take care of him, don't worry. And then he kind of left, and afterwards, we went to the award ceremony, and Amar was fine. He just walked like nothing had ever happened.
What?
Yeah. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
that's a sign, right? Like he's got
That's a
way more in his like
Yeah.
potential.
It is for sure.
So we're still, I think now we're training for the October event coming up in Albi. Yeah, the 24-hour World Championship. So now we're like in the big leagues.
Lovely.
The competition is going to be like even more intense and hectic, and there's so many lessons that we learned from even like a crew. Like I could have learned how to tie everyone's shoe like just the way that they liked it, and ensure that they get exactly what they need, like prepare for the weather conditions, understand, like go through with them as the athlete, like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you need? Be a better crew member. So I learned a lot, and I was like, okay, cool. Like the next event, I'm going to be a much better crew member, so that the pit stop that they do is like, much less time. And we're still aiming for that goal. That's the 300 plus. I mean, you never know. It's a sport, as you said, right? That unknown factor of like, I didn't want to like disqualify it or dismiss it because it's true. But as far as physiological things can go, we can work towards that objective, and we can get there, and we can objectively get his body to a point where he can maintain the pace. And that's what we want to do. So the other cool thing that we actually did is after that thing, we definitely added a strength and conditioning coach. We got, he did his like masters. He's an Indian, by the way. Yeah. He did his masters in Ireland and stuff in sports science, and he kind of got involved with the team, and he started doing strength and conditioning, and those guys were like really weak. I went to the gym with them, and I mean, I had never been to the gym with them, and I saw them lift, and I was like, wow, like you guys really need to like, like do some lifting, serious lifting. But that's like, whatever, like you can always get stronger. And the other thing that we really did was we got like a sports nutritionist. So this is actually interesting. She's doing her PhD on the effect of gut, the effect ultra running has on your gut. Yeah, so she actually, I think before she joined us, she did like some English athlete was doing like 48 hours running on the treadmill, so she was part of that. And
wow,
yeah, so
she's experienced.
Yeah, she's really experienced. So we're all Indians. That's like another cool story which is like super. This is something that I'm also like proud about, is that there's an Indian contingent in this NEB project. So we all sit and we all like constantly keep thinking, and like there's so much potential in Amar because he isn't fueling properly. Like ignore like the gels. It's like there's such a supplement, right?
Yeah.
Your primary diet is really what's important, and he wasn't really like taking good care of his primary diet, and we didn't get involved because we didn't know. I'm not a nutritionist. We didn't have a nutritionist. Now we have. So she had a look, and we did a bunch of blood tests on him, and we're okay, cool. Like this is where he is, this is where he needs to be. So these small things like strength and conditioning is now getting sorted out. His running plan is like getting more and more tailored. The objective testing is happening, so that's also happening now. The nutrition there, the strength, all these things are getting tuned, and now we're like, what's in store for him coming up? So I think he's definitely going to run in the March event in Bangalore, the Bangalore Stadium run. He won't be doing the 24 hours. I would love for him to do 24 hours because it just gives him that like feel of what it's like to. Because it matters, right? People are looking at you, and he's like the national record holder. So people are going to look at him being like, what are you going to do, national record holder? Like, how are you going to perform? And that pressure I want him to experience, but it's fine. Like
what's he doing at 12 hours?
He's doing 12 hours. Yeah. Okay. The plan is, right. I mean, you never know. It's like, it's so, it happens. Like things happen.
No, like, 12 hours could also be a great training run.
Yeah. So we're using it as a training run, actually, as a and I'm more insistent on him doing it at night because I felt like the night is where he like really struggled. So I wanted him to kind of go through the go through that bit. Yeah.
The more experience you get at handling the night sickness is also key to the performance, I guess. Wonderful. So I think you guys are onto something wonderful, which is great for Indian ultra running scene. And the learnings that will come out of this, I'm pretty sure it's not just about Amar. It is about the Indian ultra running scene. So they're going to benefit the Indian contingent overall. And I'm sure along the way you would have learned lessons that an everyday athlete, ultra athlete can also benefit from.
Yeah, of course. From what I've like learned along this journey and what I've also implemented in my sport is the basics. If you get the basics down right, you're kind of like good 90%. 95% of the time, pretty much, because the basics are like what? Getting 8 hours of sleep as an athlete, you definitely need required amount, like, the amount of sleep. You can get a sleep app, check, like, objectively try to measure things. What gets measured gets managed. So just, I have like a sleep app.
Sure.
Just measure that out, see how I'm doing in terms of like my rest and recovery. And I think other than that, like, understand how many calories you need a day. That's that's something that I also try to figure out, and adjust it based on like your training loads. Like if you've got a long run, like maybe eat more, and try to eat, like, I would say, I would think that don't eat something that would mess your gut up. So, for example, if you know that
not samosas for sure.
Yeah, we just had samosas. If it suits you and it works for you, like, go for it. But it doesn't suit me, so I'm not going to. But when I get a chance to come to Delhi and talk to you, then samosa, why not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to ask you another question.
Sure.
And do you want to take a shot at answering this?
Yes.
There are a lot of runners who are very good, who've just discovered the sport of long distance running. They've run a couple of marathons and maybe experienced 75Ks and 100Ks. And they now see, okay, what does it take to become the best in the country? What does it take to reach India level? I want to carry that flag. And I think that's just, wearing India colors or representing India at any level can be a huge motivator for people. And I have a great example to share with you, Kanan Jain. I honestly believe,
I met him.
You met him?
Such a sweet guy.
Such a lovely guy, right? So I was Kanan's first coach, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
He's a young guy as well, right?
He's a very young guy. I mention it at every opportunity I get now that he's made it to Team India. But Kanan,
is he running the, like...
He's now, like, he recently got engaged.
Yeah,
so
he's
running,
okay,
I think.
Cool,
Engaged, not married yet. But he's into running. But he's got big plans. He's working hard to become...
Do you know what his plans are?
I don't know what his plans are, but he crossed 200 mark and he made it to Team India, and I think he ran 215 or 220. He'll kill me if I get the number wrong. But somewhere around. So he made it to Team India. But then he realized all the people who are doing well at the world stage have, are definitely sub-3 marathoners, are very good sub-3 marathoners. Like 345, 245 bhi nahi, around 230.
Yeah.
So he said, let me get into that game first. Let me master that. So he's been hobbling around the sub-3 marathon mark. And from there, I believe he's got plans to get better and better at that and then enter the long distance sport.
I don't know this for sure, but I don't know if that's like the best strategy. Yeah. I mean, I have my doubts about it. I would, because you'd think, right? Like if you do like a marathon in sub-3 or whatever. I think if you do like 250,
no, but then I think
like
it's also a mental thing. So not everybody who does a sub-3 has the appetite or the capability or mental fortitude to go longer. People might be just like, okay, this is my world and this is my game and I'm just going to get better at this. But actually, there's no one strategy that works for everyone. Harvey Lewis, if you look at it, one of the best ultra runners in the world, he I think still holds the record for the backyard ultra and for the maximum number of loops, or that might just have been broken. But the Harvey was a 5-hour marathon. Like it took him 5 years, I think, to break sub-5. And he now runs 230 plus something. And and he's he did this at the ripe age of 40 plus. So, we never really know what, and even the training strategies are very, very varied. Like you mentioned, Amar and all these guys were doing way less mileage. So there are coaches who believe less mileage is the way, and there are ways to train your body and load your body in different ways within short durations. Like if you look at not Courtney Dauwalter, Courtney does massive long runs, but Camille was a world record holder at one point, and and one more name I'm forgetting, but hers.
Can I just say,
sure.
Like if we just look at it from a purely problem solving perspective, like we've got like an objective you want to do, and you're talking about performance.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to get to a particular point. Why leave guesswork?
Yeah.
Why leave feel?
No, for sure.
Yeah, like the more feel, the more guesswork you add to the entire system, the more complicated it gets.
No, I think first of all, we need to get to the level of training that athletes overseas have, which is what I guess you're doing by learning what those guys are doing and what is more suitable to us, and you're figuring out what might work for us.
We don't really look at the athletes abroad. We don't really do that. Like it's again, like what I mean is, and this is why I like working. I like this entire project excites me, is because it's like a fun problem to solve, you know. And the cool thing with this, I'm sure that you do this in work or business or whatever, that you have like a problem, you want to solve it. Okay, how do you objectively solve it? How do you, like, if you want to run a particular, okay, as an athlete as well, like I want to leave any guesswork out of this case. I want to show up on race day, match day, just fit. I don't want to rely on my feel. The more I rely on feel, the more I leave everything up to chance. Like that's out of my control. I just want to leave. I need to show up, perform. That's a plan. I've done a certain amount of volume, a certain amount of training load. It's prepared my body's physiology. So I would say it's that we more look at it from a perspective of like, okay, let's have an objective measure and let's test and let's validate. That's really how we go about doing and testing. And that's why some of the calls we have are some of the most interesting conversations ever. I really feel like I'm a student in a lecture hall listening to, like, you know, experts in their own field. Like, Santosh as a training coach, having so many years training, so many people. And then Abhishek as a sports scientist, and, Sammy as a nutritionist, and then Vivek as a strength. Just like having these discussions, and I'm just like, wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, obviously, I don't talk because I don't know anything. I'm just an observer. I'm facilitating things. I organize. I would say like I'm more the role of a project manager. Because I'm in business, so that's like how I understand it. But just to like make one comment is, I think it's like I would more lean towards systems that are objective rather than and leave the feel based out of it. Sure. So if Kanan is doing something, like, can you objectively prove that his strategy works? And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying, like, I'm asking the question, is it objectively right? And I would say the one difference that we are moving more towards as a team is that we are moving more and more away from feel-based training. Okay. Like, Amar comes to our tent, we are kind of moving away from asking Amar, what do you need? It's more like telling Amar, okay, this is the plan, this is what you need. Stick to the plan. Yeah. Don't ask me what you need. Because when you ask, it's like, you know what it's like. Yeah.
I don't know what I need.
Yeah, you don't know.
Your mind is messed up.
Yeah, your mind is messed up. Like, if I'm sure at one point in your 100-mile race, like, you were like, I don't need anything. Like, I just want to stop. Exactly. And what do you as a coach give? You're like, hey, look, like your data, I mean, like, objectively, I know your body needs this, take it. Okay, there could be problems where, your gut, there's something, things can go wrong.
Element.
Yes, right, of course. But that's okay, that's again, like, that's why
minimize that and be more data driven. Be more data methodical.
Exactly. Yes, you hit the hammer on the nail with this. Like, be more data driven. If you want performance, you need to be more data driven. Yeah. And it's a beautiful like symphony of the two, of like data being data driven and field driven, because you are an athlete, you are in touch with your body and you connect with your body through emotion, right? At some level, like, my body feels like I'm going to do something, I feel like I need to do that, and it urges you in that direction, but you need to have the two in sync. And I think what's happened, like, what from my observation, is that most athletes I see on the track, and at least in the ultra events, they're very field driven. They're too field driven.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, it is a lot of the time when it comes to quitting or it gets difficult, it's just the moment. You get past the moment and you realize you can do a lot more.
And it's also like, if it's really more like systems and structure as well. And I'm kind of going back into this thing, is that you, like, how many athletes like quit because they're afraid of injury? Like, oh, I don't want to get injured. I'm like, then don't do the sport. Like, quit. Yeah. Like, go for a walk, go to like Nehru Park, go to Kaban Park, go for a walk. Like, why are you doing this then? Like, you're in this sport. Or like, don't have a performance goal. Yeah. Like, just know that this is the I mean, adjust your expectations. Like, why be unhappy with the result? Yeah. So definitely that's one point. And I think it's totally forgot what I was gonna say. What I was trying to say? What was I saying earlier? I said performance.
So the question was about somebody wanting to sort of graduate to, like, make their team India dream.
No, that we didn't address that. We kind of went to like this whole system thing. Right? Injury. Yes, I'm so sorry. Injury. So in the whole, even with fear of injuries or whatever, like, you want on race day, you want to give it your all. Like, when I go and compete and stuff like that, when I, like, in my grappling tournaments, I want to go and give it my all. Like, like obviously like I'm not going to like when I feel like okay cool like in a sport like what I do it's a little different like you're in submission locks or whatever.
Sure.
Like I'm not trying to break my arm or break my leg.
Yeah.
I will tap, but I want to push my body to its limits.
Yeah.
And I want to know what it can do. It's more curiosity, and I think we need to have that system. And it's like I'm seeing this happen actually. I'm seeing so many running groups having a strength and conditioning element there. I'm seeing so many running groups having a nutrition element, and that's it. We just have to make it very robust and make the athlete feel comfortable so that when they go on race day, they are ready to give it their all. And some athletes really do that. They really push. And as an organizer, I'm terrified of that because don't get hurt, please. But sometimes they don't train or something, whatever happens. But as an organizer, definitely I'm like, be safe or whatever. But as an athlete, I'm like, let's go.
No, train and then you push yourself.
Yeah, of course.
That's the way.
Yeah. Or is it train hard, work easy, or something like that?
Yeah, what I was trying to say is not a quote.
You asked me a question about...
So I asked you a question about people raising the game, which is why I touched upon Kanan, because I believe when Kanan started running, I didn't think he was a runner.
Okay.
Like he was a born runner. He just arm twisted himself. He just had this one dream of representing India, and he like worked his ass off, and the guy made it to Team India. Like one of the most inspiring people I know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can I tell you? When he actually came to my house one day in Bangalore. Yeah, I think he's a really sweet guy.
Yeah.
And I remember just seeing him, and he came to the house or whatever, and I was like, hey, what's up? And they were like all these like like okay, you look like a runner. You're like an older person, older adult. Like you look like you'd run. I saw him and I'm like, no, you run really? And I was like, he said he did ultras, and I'm like, I obviously like process that, right? That means if you're doing an ultra marathon, you are basically waking up at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you're like going for your run, and then of course like you've got your day job or whatever. And I'm like,
he now does that. Yeah. He does that, and
I think I had mad respect for him at that time. I was like, wow, that means you're losing out on your social circle, because at that age, like our friends are like going and partying, right? He's not doing that.
We had told him, bhai, teri girlfriend nahi banegi, chhod de. Yeah.
It didn't work. He's getting
he is. So, he's got.
So what were you saying? Like he's
So saying this dream can actually motivate people. So people who are just getting into ultra running and they feel they're good, or they can work hard, or people are willing to give their all to a big dream. So this could be a dream for somebody.
Of course.
So people listening to this podcast or watching, if they want to discover their 2.0, find their ultra and make it to Team India, what would be your advice? What do they need to change about the way they're training?
If you want to make it to Team India, there are like I think if you, for example, I think Team India participates in the IAU events that happen like all over the world.
Yeah.
I think there are qualifiers that happen, and I know that NEB does. Like I think NEB does most of them. I'm not sure if other events do them. I'm not sure.
I think there are qualifying events.
I think right now there's a selection committee, and they put out the qualification times. I'm not sure what
qualification criteria keeps changing every year.
Yeah. I think the bar's getting higher and higher, right?
For sure.
Which is amazing. I love it.
It was 215 at one point.
Yeah.
Now I'm pretty sure it's higher.
Yeah, it is exciting. I'm curious to see what people do. Obviously, the reason I'm saying this is because like this March event is like a qualifier, right?
Okay.
So we're going to see what incredible things human beings are going to do.
Yeah.
And I think a bunch of people like just messaged me and told me that people I never thought would do. I don't want to like disclose that, but some people like messaged me. I never thought they would do ultra marathons, and they're doing it, and they're like pretty big runners. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. Like everyone's trying their hand in this, and I'm excited to see what happens in this 24 hours world championship, and I'll be from the Indian side for sure. Like what Indians get selected.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what your question was?
Specific advice to people who want to raise their game and make it to Team India. What maybe you can talk about the approaches.
Yeah.
What about their mindset or approach that they need to change in their training?
I will share my knowledge of what I've learned about the sport just from as an observer in a lot of the conversations we have in the performance team. It's that the sport of ultra running is kind of like similar to Formula One. It's all about the engine, the athlete that kind of has to go cover as many laps or kilometer distance as possible with the engine that they have. And all that's important is to like look at it from a fueling perspective, like what you eat, what you drink, and throughout the entire race. And I think the one main issue, I was actually discussing this with the Australian team, the guy that came for the World 100K Championship, really sweet guy, Gary Mullins. I was talking to him about this, and we were kind of discussing with him, and him, me, Abhishek were just having a chat, and we were saying like, what's the issues that you're facing and stuff like that. And some of the main issue that every athlete would face is like how like they want to take as many carbohydrates as they possibly can, because it's like the fuel source that you use to kind of like run. And they were stuck at like trying to get to 60 or 75 grams of carbs. So it's quite a lot. So like do that throughout the course of the race, and you have to do a lot of like gut tolerance or gut building or whatever, like to accept so many carbs. So from a fueling perspective, it's more about like understanding how to do that. Again, like it's about having objective plans. Like you start baseline, you figure out what your baseline is, and then you have a target, and then you reassess and you see how far you are from that target and work towards it. I think it's like it's a very scientific methodology of going about it, and it's like quite simple to do, but I mean not easy.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, be more methodical, track more
be
things,
more methodical,
be data-driven.
Be more data-driven, which I'm really excited. I think you've seen all these Gen Z guys trying to run now, right? Yeah, and these guys are like not messing around. Like they're hella, data-driven, and they're very like tech-savvy and stuff like that. So they're using like, they're measuring key markers like pace, heart rate, and things like that. You can using like a CGM, understanding your blood glucose levels and stuff like that. But the main thing that I noticed with that in this entire like sport of running kind of falls into like biomechanics. That's your like shoe, your gait, your stride length, all these sort of things, and substrate utilization, which is basically like what your body uses as fuel, and understanding pace. So if you run at a higher pace, there isn't like a optimal utilization of carbohydrates. So we need to find like the right pace in which you can run, that you have the correct amount of carbs that you use. And that's why when we do those testing with Amar and gang, like we know that, okay, cool, like if he's running at, for example, I don't know, for 4.5 pace for 24 hours, he needs to consume this much of carbohydrates. And then we work on like...
How does an average guy get to know this? There isn't a way?
There could be a way. Like, I think we can kind of like, if I had to like really do this from scratch, which I told you this, right? I want to try my hand at triathlon. Not like the Olympic distance, but the sprint.
Okay.
It just says that like, whatever, like could be fun. I want to be a guinea pig. I've got flat feet, first of all. So I have to I'm thinking of getting insoles done and just like documenting that process and understanding how that entire process works, and then going from there. So I'm happy to share my results with you and see like my findings from it. But I would say like the simple thing that I would do is like work just like, and by the way, I'm no expert, so please take my input as a grain of salt. This is from my observation, my studies, like competing in my relevant sport is definitely the sleep aspect has to be like has to be there, and the main thing is what gets measured gets managed. So track your sleep, manage it, understand sleep scores, have a minimum, I would ensure that my sleep score is a particular thing. So I know that it's going in the right direction. Secondly would be understanding like measuring my nutrition. Okay, how many calories do I actually need? Measure that. Okay, fine, I'm going to do 10-hour run or whatever. How many calories obviously my caloric intake has to change to that. So I baseline what I need, and I baseline, okay, cool, like this is my baseline, like 2000 calories. Okay, fine, maybe I need to increase it a little bit because I'm doing a very intense activity. And then of course it's like do some strength and conditioning. I don't think as runners we would need to do like very hectic things because the volume and loads is so high, right? We mostly would do like injury preventative stuff and like fixing the issues that come with it. So I don't know, like
but whatever that little so it in the entire time that we will spend training, bulk of it will have to be the sport itself. But that 20% or whatever it is,
it's a game changer.
20-25, that is like it's 100%.
You won't believe this, by the way. Like as a runner, right? You have your running shoe is important, and the shoe falls into the biomechanics part. It's the part of your body that like touches the ground and like lifts or whatever. Okay. Now I have a question to ask you. Before a run, a marathon, a 100-miler, would you wear a new pair of shoes?
Of course not.
Okay, cool. Saurav did this, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, this is like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like done this because there was some like regulation about like having a particular shoe, and he wasn't sure, so he like wore like a brand new pair of shoes, and I was like, man, even I'm a runner and I know that like that's not a good thing to do.
No. I have a trainee who is running the NDM this Sunday, nice. And he's wearing a new pair of shoe. And I told him not advisable.
What is it mileage that you have to cover for the shoe to be like fit?
It depends on shoe to shoe, but we said generally 500 to 600 kilometers is.
So
Oh, yeah, but for the shoe to be fit?
No, no, it's for the shoe to be like ready for race day or whatever.
Oh, I don't know. 50, 100 kilometers
Yeah.
should be good enough. 50 kilometers.
So this insole thing is like really interesting.
Hmm.
I'm really curious about this. Like, Saurabh had this issue with like his navicular and things like that, and we felt that it was more from his like impact of his foot on the track or whatever, and we had to like work around that particular issue, and we kind of realized that the insole was like really important, and what that insole did is that it kind of like it acts as the absorbent. And it kind of like molds and shapes into your foot and gives you the perfect amount of cushioning. And you can actually like customize your insole for the shoe that you're going to wear. And it's a custom made insole basically. So then your shoe becomes irrelevant in the sense that as long as the insole is like good and you're getting like a decent running shoe or whatever, like you'll be fine.
But what's the drop like on the shoe? Like heel to toe drop?
I don't know.
Okay.
This again, like I'm not an expert, but this aspect I did find very interesting, and this was definitely when I do like my triathlon, I'm gonna like invest in this particular thing because I have flat feet and I have like really, when I run, and sometimes I like when I run like actually run, I get like really bad like calf pain and stuff like that, and I get like my arches tend to hurt a little bit. So I'm gonna like.
Well, you have Abhishek, who better to speak to.
Yeah, I'm like a guinea pig. I irritate him a lot, by the way. I always ask him like really weird, random questions. Yeah.
Wonderful, sir. I would love to have a conversation with Abhishek or other team members whenever possible, whenever they're traveling to Delhi, or whenever I can make my long overdue trip to Bangalore. The entire team is based out of Bangalore?
So myself, Santosh and Vivek are based in Bangalore. Abhishek and Sammy are with, they're doing, I think Abhishek is working with John Moores University. And Sammy's doing her PhD in John Moores University. They're like the best university for physiology, by the way.
Oh.
Like they're really good.
But and where are they based? Like, is it a
They're
distance
based in
thing?
the UK.
Oh,
yeah.
Both Abhishek is also in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I met him here, and he like moved to do his masters and things like that.
Sure.
So,
I was hoping he'll be in Mumbai because I'll be traveling to Mumbai, but definitely not traveling to London.
You should really pick his brain on this because even what they do in John Moores University is so fascinating.
I would love to. I honestly love to. There are hardly any people you can find you can discuss these things with.
Yeah. That's why I'm actually really enjoying this conversation, because I don't think I've ever had the chance to sit with like a runner and have this discussion. Yeah.
Wonderful, sir. Glad this platform exists. And
it's lovely talking to you.
You want to say something nice about Find Your Ultra? You were saying that before we started rolling.
What did I say?
You said you like the podcast.
I like the samosa.
Come on.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's really cool that this podcast exists because it's like Ultra itself within the running space is so niche. Yeah. And I think podcast is like the best format to reach out to those people because as ultra distance runners, I'm sure you guys are like you're invested in things. You guys are patient. You guys like to go through details and like to understand things and like to just you have the patience and you have that understanding and that scope of the grand scheme of things. So I think like a long form podcast is like ideal for
and we spend a lot of time running, so podcast is a good companion.
You listen to podcasts while you run?
I do, depending on what kind of run it is. If it's a pace or a tempo run, I don't. But if it's an easy long run, for sure. And I mean, audiobooks and podcasts, because you do need to listen to, you need to consume this content. There are podcasts and there are topics that I want to learn about. When would you do that? There's work, there's commute. Commute mein bhi kitna hi kar loge? And now that I do this podcast also, my commutes are actually just working on the podcast, like some suggestions about some notes and clips and stuff like that. So barely any time left. Only training time is when you can consume content.
How's your journey?
A lot of runners, by the way, do that because all the comments and feedbacks that I get, a lot of them are actually when people have just finished their long run on a Sunday.
Oh, they listen to your podcast?
Okay.
Cool.
This was like when I release an episode, there'll be comments like, "Oh, this Sunday sorted. This Sunday long run sorted." Yeah.
How interesting. Yeah. How interesting. This is so cool.
Yeah. Runners actually do listen to quite a bit.
I love this. I love what you contributed to the running space.
Thank you, sir. I love what you contributed to the running space, and we'll continue to do that.
I'm so much younger to you.
But what a pleasure talking, and I would love to have.
You're coming to NDM, right?
Why did you have to bring this up?
Yeah, I have to see you now. I just see you on race day.
Okay,
we spoke
let's
for
see.
so long. I feel like
I'm a
now we
registered-
have this like connection. Like I need
For
to see
sure.
you on the race day. I need to
No,
create
for
the
sure.
connection.
If not, I'd love to come to Bangalore for the
Stadium run?
spectacle.
Oh,
for
of
the
course, that would be
spectacle.
great.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, you know what? Why don't- if you come to Bangalore, we can do like a round of testing for you.
Oh, there you go.
That sounds fun,
Fabulous.
right? Yeah, you can
That-
see
that
what we
sounds
do in the
like
lab.
fun.
Yeah.
Superb.
Yeah. Are you like into data and stuff like that?
I love that. I
Yeah.
love nerding out on things, and which is why I do watch this segment of Rich Roll podcast,
Yeah,
Coach's Corner, and a couple of other running podcasts that I
Mm.
follow. And I'm like, dude, India में भी कोई होगा यार ये बात करने के लिए.
I think what I can do is actually I
Yeah.
can actually show you some of the information that we did leading up to Amar's race, like his testing and stuff like that, and what we did use from it. And we actually did a bunch of testing for like another athlete, Kartik Anand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, that guy's running NDM. He's doing like sub 3. He's targeting 250, and the way he runs is like amazing. Like beautiful running. Like the way he ran, like everyone in the lab was like, "Is he tired?" And like, no, he's good. He's just running, and his lactic threshold was just like his lactic thing was so low. And I was like, we test, right? We see at every interval, and I was kind of like, he's sweating a lot. He doesn't look tired at all. And I was just like curious to see his like data, and then I was like, wow, his body is like something else. And you have athletes like this who were just like built different, and we've actually given him a race plan. Use the IP that we created, and we've given him a race plan, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do on NDM. Yeah. He said he wants to do 250 or something. I think he can definitely do like much less than that. But I think, there's so many factors to it. It's just like
of course.
the race day
It depends
plan.
on the day. Yeah. Not much is in your control.
It's fascinating because I think we're going to have him again back in the lab, and we're going to do another round of testing.
Sure.
And so seeing that data would be very interesting.
And I guess at some point you'll probably have to have a psychologist in the team because so much of this is also up here.
Yeah. Honestly, like I really feel like we built this system, and I don't know like what we'll do after the October thing, because like I don't know how to explain it. Like since like last year in Jan, or actually last year Jan, like we had this mission of October 2025.
Okay.
And even in the Canberra event that we did, we were like, October 2025, we want to do this. Okay. And it's been like the main driver and main focus. And now that once that event happens, like,
dude, you guys are going to be in depression.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah. So we are trying to like think about something like this. And that's one of the things that we were actually thinking of doing, is we wanted to like actually like give this testing to everyone else. And only problem is like cost. It's so expensive. We're trying to like scale it down to a point where it's accessible to everyone. So, but that's some of the challenges that we have. We're trying to figure out a way around it. But yeah, definitely, I can actually, you can do some testing for you. You can see what we do. Yeah. I can actually like offline, I can show you the things that we do with Amar. I can show you the results and stuff.
And there we can do, like, do a Bangalore trip. This guy's been asking me for a while. Let's do and we can do a round 2 there and maybe meet some of the team. And
oh my God, that's a great idea. Yeah, you can meet Santosh.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I think
I'd love to do that.
Again, like I'm like the least interesting person in the team. I feel like everybody.
No,
else
but I guess
like,
you're probably the most important part of the team that sort of keeps it together, and you have you bring the human element into all of this. Otherwise, you may just get to one-sided and data-driven only.
Yeah, I think the role that I play is more like managerial, and if
there's a reason why managers are important.
Yeah, I know, but without them, I'm so irrelevant.
Yeah, I can understand. Those are subject matter experts.
Yeah, you need your subject matter experts, and then obviously obviously now I'm taking in a little bit more of a data processing role. Like they share data with me, and I kind of like process it and understand. Okay, what do we focus on? Because again, like we all have little time. Yeah. Like I'm extremely busy. Santosh is extremely busy. Everyone's busy, and we have to like prioritize these things and do that. And
yeah,
hard to say.
No, I think and as being I think as NEB Sports, you guys are in a position to be probably responsible for taking the sport to the next level. So what we discussed was making it a spectator sport.
Yes,
that is what's going to bring in money into the sport.
That is like I'm really trying to. I'm trying so hard. Like I spend so many, like most of my day is just like, okay, how do you make this a spectator sport? Because it's so good. Yeah, it's so good. Like the stadium run is amazing. But I mean, I don't know, like, I'm open to suggestions, but if you have any idea, of your listeners have any ideas,
audience,
if they have, please, like,
Yeah.
please share it with me.
How can we bring in more people into the sport, more spectators, and more money into the sport?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more of the high performance angle, right? If you can ideally see like performance happening in like the 24 hours and stuff like that, it trickles down into the marathon. And
I
then,
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful, sir.
Yeah.
What a
Thank you so
conversation
much.
this has been.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.